Well, welcome back to another episode of Sip by Sip. My goodness me. I say that a lot, don't I? It's become my sort of catchphrase. Well, enough jovialities here. Let's get on with proceedings. We're churning things out a bit better now, hopefully. Well, let's see. I say that. We've only just started, really. And also, by churning out, I mean, this is there's quite a delay to this episode, I will say. This was apparently, according to the saved files here on my desktop, let's have a little click again. This was recorded on the 3rd of April, not this year, but last year. Yep. 3rd of April 2020. So this has been sitting in the bank for over a year. And then I thought, why not do it now? This is the best time to release it. Gosh, it just takes a while to do this stuff. I can't be asked. I can't be asked to do all this editing. It's difficult. The amount of times I've got to listen to my voice, I'm not doing that. Anyway, what was I saying? I was talking about this. Yeah. Who have we got on today's cup? Well, this is my chat with Felicity. At the time, I hadn't. This is my first meeting with Felicity. Actually, she was very kind enough to say yes to my invitation, my open invitation to have guests on the podcast. And at the time, I knew her I knew of her doing a show for Extreme Radio. And after this podcast, we worked on 2 more projects. Wait, was it 2 more projects? We worked on at least 1 more project. Which was, what was it? The Virtual Varsity last year, which thankfully she was there to co-host with me, because I would not have lasted the 6 or 7 hours we ended up going on for. That was just too long that afternoon/evening. I don't know how we lasted for that long. I was getting bored about an hour. No. Probably after the 5th, 6th hour started to take its toll on me and everyone else, I think. But this isn't about that. You can watch that, and it's available on Expluce Player if you want to catch up on the highlights. But in this was a kind of a fitting time to release it, actually, because we've just had Eurovision last night, or at least the time of me recording this intro, and we got that magnificent number, the no points from the jury and no points from the public vote. So we can see that our act was very popular with the European voting public, plus Australia and a few other countries. We don't need to go on about that. Everyone's gone on about that, and this is neither the time nor the place. Where was I? Yeah, so I find out during this podcast that Felicity too is a big fan of Eurovision, and so we ended up talking about Eurovision a lot. And because this was just over a year ago, this was back when we were in the height of lockdown 1, and they'd announced that we weren't going to have Eurovision. And I think it was about the time that they'd also announced that we'd be having a replacement, Europe Shine a Light, which was a non-competitive celebration of Eurovision. And it was good to have something, but after watching last night, it was so good to have it back. I was so happy, and but also annoyed. But not about Eurovision. I was annoyed that they decided to schedule my Japanese exam on the day of Eurovision. I thought it was today. I had 24 fewer hours notice, because I realised that too late. But anyway, that's in the past. I handed that in, and we'll forget about how badly I did there. Anyway, this is turning into like a long monologue. I don't know why. This is the longest opening I've done for one of these podcasts, but it's nice to have a little chat. Also, I'm standing up. I thought this would make a change. I've got this microphone mounted on an arm, which I should say has been kindly borrowed from Mr. Isaac Lowe from URY, University Radio York, because I left my mic at home. I'm in York now, and I couldn't bring it with me because I didn't have any room in my rucksack. But anyway, enjoy this episode of Sip by Sip, this cup of Sip by Sip, where I play a game, a fun game, and we natter on a subject that we both didn't know the other loved so much. And it's finally out there, so apologies, Felicity, but we did it. It's out there, finally. It only took about 13 months. Enjoy. But we'll see how this works. Right. Now, let's come up. No, it's not coming up. Okay, let's try this again. See, the great thing about this is I can edit it to make me sound like such a professional, but the guest is there for the whole thing and realises that I'm not. Hello and welcome to another episode of Sip by Sip, and I am joined by my guest Felicity. Hello, Felicity.
Hey.
How are you?
Surviving. I think is the best way to put it. Yeah, managing.
I suppose you're getting used to the four walls, are you?
Well, I've a lot of experience with four walls because I'm generally in hospital a lot, so it hasn't really been a huge change. I think the big thing is, though, I can make tea whenever I want, whereas you can't do that in hospital. So there's a lot more freedom being at home within these four walls. But I've got, my video game set up, and, it could be worse.
It could be. That's what we always have to remind ourselves. It could be worse. But as long as you've got a beverage at hand, that is good news for us, because we love hot beverages on this show. Would you like to talk us through your beverage?
Well, my beverage, I think, perfectly reflects self-isolation. There's not enough milk in it because I run out of milk. So it's very much an Americano. It's decaf because obviously it's quite late in the day. And no, I love a good coffee. If I could, I'd have like 6 or 7 cups of this a day.
Okay.
But I'm down to 1 or 2, and I'm trying to switch to hot chocolates, which is why I have no milk.
What would you prefer, hot chocolate or your decaf?
Oh, well, I'm only doing decaf because I'm being good. If I was being proper, I wouldn't do decaf. Decaf is kind of, I don't find that it has an impact on me, so I can sleep even though I've had coffee. I used to go to university and there was a Hammerhead, which was 3 espresso shots, and no impact.
Right. Should we prepare my beverage?
Yes, definitely.
Excellent. Right. So, I have a scale. I didn't produce this scale, but we've got a scale from 1 to 13. At the moment, I have a range from 4 to 12. Is there anything that tickles your fancy just from those numbers alone?
Oh, I like 13 because it's unlucky 13.
Well, we don't have 13, unfortunately. The maximum. Hold on. We've had. Well, I'm just trying to remember. We've had 11 and. We've had 11 and 12, actually. So the highest I have that I haven't had yet on the programme is a 10.
Then 10, I think. If it's the highest you haven't had.
A 10?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, so I've got my latte cup ready. Right, so I'm going to go for a Supremo capsule. Let's hope it really is Supremo. So, I shall get my holder. Right, so this is quite a satisfying sound for many. So this will be the capsule being pierced by the blades. Are you ready for this? This is the big moment of the podcast. Right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh, that wasn't actually that loud. Did you hear that?
I could sort of hear it. It wasn't, I think, quite as satisfying as it could have been.
It wasn't, but as soon as the machine pokes its hole through the capsule, because this was just the holder, that should be a more satisfying sound, I hope. Right, so I'm just going to slot this in. And I am going to add a standard Demerara cube of goodness. Drop that in there. Wonderful. This place is in the machine. I'm going to go for... What do we think? 40 mils, 50 mils, 80 mils, 120 mils.
Oh, that's a lot of options.
It is.
Well, I haven't got a lot of milk, but it depends. Are you a milk person or not?
I am a milk person. I do have milk. So I'm in a good spot there.
Yeah, then I won't be cruel and say no milk, because like I'm doing a no milk thing. Put the milk in.
So what do we think? Ooh, this is tough.
Maybe not the highest. Maybe one down. Was that 80?
Well, the highest is actually 250, but that would be too watery.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I usually go, for around 80 or so, perhaps.
Yeah, 80 sounds good.
Okay, excellent. Right, so I'm going to press the button now, and after a few seconds delay, you will hear the machine. Many of my guests have enjoyed the sound, so let's hope you do. Right, here we go. I'm going to press the button now, and then shortly will come the sounds of the machine. Good stuff. How was that?
It sounds like an electric cat.
An electric cat? Wow, I haven't heard that before. That's the episode title now. It sounds like an electric...
Purring.
Worrying. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's purring. You know, like when a cat purrs.
Yeah.
It's a coffee machine that purrs.
Well, I think I'm allergic to cats, so I'm not sure how I feel about having an electric cat in my room. I haven't been sneezing yet, so give that a good stir. Oh, that's excellent. That is quality content right there, I am sure. Okay, right, where is my milk? Where have I put my milk? In episode 1, I forgot my milk, and I feel like I'm having deja vu. Let me pour in my milk. Hold on. Right, sorry. Right, so let me talk about this coffee. It's a Supremo of intensity 10. It's vigorous and spicy and untamable, thanks to complex hints of dark chocolate, oak and nuts, rounded off with a full-bodied crema layer for intense coffee pleasure, magnified to the power of espresso in the highest gear.
That does sound very nice.
It does. I don't know what a lot of it means, but here we go. Shall we have the sip? This is the fateful sip. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Not too shabby. Although it tastes a bit different today. I don't know why that is. It's tasting slightly off than usual. No, it tastes better now. I don't know what that was. I have no idea what that was. It's maybe I didn't add enough milk. Yeah, I didn't add enough milk, that's why. But anyway, let's not worry about that. Let's talk about how you're coping. So, you've had loads of things to keep you occupied there, haven't you?
Yeah, so I've been keeping busy, doing things for Extreme Radio, but also I've been helping run things such as the Hogwarts Society. So we've been doing watch parties, online escape rooms, other different things. So I've been finding free resources online that I can share, and I've been sharing them across different groups. So there's a new organisation, I think, set up by the Student Union, sort of, I think they called it like Keeping Sane in Lockdown or Keeping Sane in something. And there's also a common room for students at the university that's online, that's been created. So most of the time I'm sort of chatting to other people online, linking in, sharing links, finding free resources, doing watch parties. But also I run my own organization, which is a nonprofit. And so finding stuff that I can share there and ensure that other people stay engaged with the page, but at the same time trying to give it a particular theme. So my nonprofit's called Chronically Fabulous, and we work with people who have a chronic illness and or disability, as well as carers. And so trying to find content that fits with the theme of sort of self-care while in isolation, but while also fitting with the theme of the organization. And when I'm not doing that, I have helped out with some fundraising. So I am part of a sing-along of Stand By Me. And it's one of my friends, Dermot Devlin. He runs My Way Access, which is a disability organisation. And he's done the video to help raise funds for personal protective equipment for healthcare professionals in the UK and Ireland.
Okay.
So I've been keeping busy.
It sounds like it's more busy than me. I decided I've got nothing to do now. Why not start a podcast? That's how I decided to fill my time. I thought, hold on, I've got loads of coffee, at least 26 different varieties. That's 26 episodes right there of a podcast, very loosely based around coffee. I mean, that's all of the coffee stuff really done in this episode. But something to do, isn't it? It's something to pass the time. Shall we play a game?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I've got an interesting game lined up for you. Interesting, you can take interesting however way you wish. So I'm having loads of technical issues today, even though I'm a computer science student and should know what I'm doing. It never seems like I know what I'm doing.
To be honest, I've been having technical issues when I've been trying to do the two shows that I do on Extreme Radio. Myriad has not wanted to behave anytime I've logged in remotely. And I've switched to live mode.
Yeah.
And it still won't work.
It's a weird thing because it involves, I mean, I could do it, but it involves quite a bit more planning because you have to record your voiceover like a few minutes in advance. And usually it's my response to like the current playing piece of music, but I don't know a lot of the pieces of music that are being played just because I'm very behind. I'm an old man essentially, so I only know a handful of pieces. So it was a bit more difficult for me to set that up. But then I thought, we've got this as a sort of replacement for now. Hopefully I can go back and do my Eurovision specials in the summer. Who knows?
Hang on a second. Eurovision specials?
Yes.
Oh, you have to call me in for that. I am a huge Eurovision fan.
Well, that is a great thing to hear. Yeah. Because I haven't done it in a while. It's when I was here, because I was in my year in industry last year. But before that, I had 3 Eurovision specials. Mm-hmm. And then I heard the news this year. Absolutely devastated. Yeah. So I thought, what can I do about this? Well, I'd planned a week of Eurovision specials. And that was just before they closed the studio. Yeah. So there's no way of me putting the music up. So hopefully I'll be able to return in the summer to do that sometime after the exams. Who knows? I've already advertised it, so I hope I'm able to do it.
I adore Eurovision so much. I mean, to the extent that, put it this way, my sister wrote her undergraduate thesis on Eurovision. The other one plans to enter Eurovision and represent Ireland. And I just generally sit there and enjoy and watch. And I think one of my favourite ones that I don't think they got through, and it's purely because they have a ridiculous name. And I'm going to open them here on the phone. It was a song, and I can't remember which country, but it was for this Eurovision Song Contest, and they entered. And think of it as a vegan ode, kind of. They were in their country's final, and their song is called All the Blood, positive song actually, but the band's name is We All Poop.
We All Poop.
Yes. So the actual title of the thing that would have come up on Eurovision, had they got through, would have been We All Poop, All the Blood, positive song, actually.
Oh my goodness me! And they didn't get through.
Yeah, as far as I know, they didn't get through, which is a shame because
What a shame.
and you can vote for them on. Well, you could have voted for them on the Eurovision app.
Yeah.
The entire video is kind of like this human being hunted by hunters, and it gives a sort of like animal rights message. But it's just, I love Eurovision. It's the cheese. And
it is the cheese.
Yeah, it's the cheese, and it's the Eurovision bingo. Are they wearing white? Is there fire? You know, is there drums? different things. I think "Love, Love, Peace, Peace," which is the song that they did. Was it 2 or 3 years ago?
It was when they were in Sweden. It was Måns Zelmerlöw and Petra Mede.
Yeah,
their ode to Eurovision. Now that was a good tribute.
That was brilliant. It even had, wasn't it Poland, I think, who had the people churning butter. It even had a reference to that.
Oh yes, even those, that infamous. It seemed a bit, because I was asking some Polish friends about it, and I was thinking, this is what you bring, is what you brought to the contest. This whole, and usually it's sort of mostly family friendly stuff, and then you got this. I didn't understand it, to be honest, but that was 2014, was it?
I'm awful at remembering my names. I do remember. I mix up the country, but there was the guy who sung on stage, and he wasn't allowed to sing naked on stage, but he had initially planned to sing naked on stage with wolves. So he had
it was Hungry Running, I think it was. What year was that? 2015, I think. It was.
The end of his performance is amazing because he just turns into a baby in the background if you wait for it. And I love things like that. It's just ridiculous. And like last year was it Azerbaijan had the person who looked a bit like Iron Man, and his setup was done like Iron Man. He had all the robots around him and then kind of a red heart sort of on his chest, and he flew up in the air.
Remember that. I remember the red heart. Yeah.
I just, Eurovision is interesting. Verka Serduchka. I love Verka Serduchka as well. I think
classic Dancing Lascia Tambai.
Yeah,
I loved it when she made a return when they were in Kiev, but it was only a short. It wasn't she was doing some video stuff. I remember she was doing some of the interlude.
Yeah, she did a Switch song as well during really time.
Yeah. Oh, what did she sing? I can't remember what she sung.
I'm Not Your Toy by Netta.
Yes, that was it's all coming back to me now. It's all coming back to me. Gosh, and we won't have any of that this year. I am so disappointed.
I thought they could have maybe done, like an individual performance, or they could have live streamed their national final performances, and we could have voted remotely. It wouldn't have been the same, but it would have been better than nothing. Because those people put effort in and they can't enter their songs next year.
Yeah. But apparently the reasoning behind it was that the whole idea of Eurovision is bringing people together. And because all of the artists wouldn't be in one place, that was their reasoning. Because they can't all be together, rather not do it. I don't
really follow.
Yeah.
I feel like a cop-out. That's a bit of a cop-out. Because we're together now, but remotely.
Yeah.
There is a way of doing it. It might have just probably taken a bit of more work and a bit more thought on the structure. But I mean, there's television shows that are still managing to work remotely. So like Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon are still doing updates on their YouTubes.
Yeah.
So stuff can be done. But I feel really bad for all the people who put so much work into their entry this year and who are not going to get to see it come to fruition.
What were your highlights of the? Have you listened to all the acts this year that would have been?
I haven't listened to all of the acts this year, and I'm not sure if I have any specific highlights yet. My sister would probably be the best one to ask on this because she follows all the memes, so I get all the different memes and I get to hear all about the different countries' finals. The thing is, sometimes I find nothing really stands out until I actually see it during, say, the semi-finals and then the final during. So there's songs that sometimes don't stand out to me as being immediately great, but they grow on you. So throughout the week, as you get very much involved in the full craze that is Eurovision, certain songs tend to come to the fore. Although I have found that sometimes there's songs that have won that have kind of surprised me.
Oh yeah.
Because like last year, there were so many good entries. It could have gone to anyone. And the winner is great.
Yeah.
Their song is amazing. But it sort of snuck up because I actually thought Australia was really good last year. Not only did they have a good song, their stage performance was really, really top notch. They put a lot of effort in. So it just...
Was that the one where she was floating around? I can't, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, the song is inspired apparently by her depression. And so she was sort of like defying gravity almost on these sticks in the air. But like the actual production that had gone into that was really, really good. But I suppose sometimes less is more. I've noticed that less is more has been winning a bit in Eurovision recently. So if you look at like, was it Portugal?
Yeah,
Sobral, yeah. That was a very sort of toned down song. And then last year as well was a very toned down song. So those seem to be kind of winning. But then Eurovision wouldn't be Eurovision without all the,
well, you need all the crazy stuff. Yeah, you need it because those are the ones you look forward to. You don't look forward to the quiet songs where they're taking it seriously. You look forward to the ones where they're, jumping around or doing whatever. That's why we watch Eurovision.
Yeah, in a hamster wheel.
Oh yes, TikTok, Ukraine.
Yeah, was it? And what was it? Was it Ukraine as well that won with the song that was about a genocide?
Yeah, Jamala. It was 1640. I can't remember what the year was, but yeah, when I was listening to that, it sounded a bit off sometimes, like her singing. So I wondered how it won, but then at the same time, it was with the backdrop of Crimea and all that. Yeah. So that was definitely political. As it doesn't matter what you say about it being unpolitical, it's always political, and that was a big example of it being the case. And it was a shame. I was disappointed because I didn't think she did that good a performance, and there was some good. Who was second? Was it Russia second? I can't remember. But
Russia's done very well these last few years. So is Sweden, but Russia definitely. But the person who represents Russia, I think I've heard, is very pro-LGBT, even though they're representing Russia.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I always wondered what would happen to Eurovision if it did take place in Russia, given the current political climate there.
Yeah, that'd be a good experiment. Just get everyone to vote Russia and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting because Russia did censor Conchita when Conchita was singing and won. So it would be interesting to see how Russia would deal with it, because when you think about Eurovision, it generally is a very LGBT positive space. But no, I love Eurovision. I'm definitely going to miss it this year because, like, I always go to Eurovision parties and we pick out certain countries that people are maybe going to dress as to represent. We have lots of international foods there. Yeah. It's always really good for bringing people together, and I think it could still have done that just in a different form this year, which is a shame.
Yeah. Well, they announced the other day that they were planning a sort of a replacement, which would be they would show segments of the songs that they would have been performed this year, and they're asking for some of the performers' views on current situation. So I don't know how it's going to work. I think when I last read, 14 broadcasters had committed to airing the program, but apparently the BBC are also planning something. So we'll see how that pans out. But it'll be a very different year, which is a shame. But that's the current situation.
There was one song that was a classic Eurovision song, and they had redone it recently. So my sister sent me this.
Was it Ireland? Ema?
No, it wasn't Ireland's song. It was... I'm trying to see if I can find it, where she linked it. But it was the... what do you call them? Hang on. I'm going to mix it up. It's not Serbia. It's Sunstroke Project.
Oh, yes.
So it's... hang on. Moldova?
Moldova,
yes. They did... They did a COVID-19 song, which I can play for you, but I don't know how your copyright is.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll just have to...
I can do it muted so you can get the good of the idea, but it's the two of them sort of singing along to their classic song. It's a Eurovision song.
Which one? The one they did in 2015. Oh, sorry, in Kiev, 2017.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Mama. Oh, okay. I'll tell you what. If you play it and then I'll hum it for the when I edit it, I'll hum it for the listener. I love this song. Oh, very good. Well, when was that? I didn't...
That got released 19th of March. So when I say my sister is on top of Eurovision, she is. So like this was sent to me and it still only had like 100 views.
Oh, okay.
At the time. So she was ahead of the curve on that. But I think it's really good because they're using their song as a public health message.
And it was a popular song.
Yeah, it's a great song. Their dance routine with their instruments is, it's fuego to do another Eurovision reference.
Cyprus, that was a good one. That second place, couldn't believe that. That had all the markings of a winner, and they didn't win. But there have been some very good second place. There's
been some really good runner-ups. I think like last year's top 10 was really, really difficult to pick between. But last year was a really good year. And it's such a shame when you think about it this year. And even if they do a different version of it, if each individual broadcaster is possibly doing their own version, or even if there's only 14 or so of them doing it, it's not really bringing everyone together. It's not, I wonder how they would really bring the Eurovision, that feeling of Eurovision to it.
It's a very unique feeling, and I doubt a lot of it would be replicated in this sort of replacement program. But I suppose it's better than nothing. But there could have been more. Is what I'm sure many feel.
Yeah, it's just. It's kind of sad because I think at this point we do need stuff to bring people together and to spread a little bit of cheer, and Eurovision would have been perfect for that, even if it had been done in a different way. So, for example, you only get to have 6 people really on the stage, so they could have done social distancing within that. The stage was big enough. And if you had no audience, you just filmed them from a distance in each individual country, even the cameraman could have been social distancing. So, I understand it's not essential. But there's ways and means. Plus some different, I think, I saw there's been orchestras who have been using Zoom to do certain classical pieces, and they each are playing individually in their own homes while listening to each other, so bouncing off each other.
Has that worked? Because there's always a bit of a lag. So
it has worked, actually. I'm not sure whether or not it's a case of what they do is they sync it afterwards.
Perhaps.
Or,
because you can do the audio stream separately, so by user, and then you can synchronize them afterwards. But then I assume it probably would, if you're recording at the same time, then it would record it all from the same point. So while it may sound out of sync while you're doing it live, it would be synchronized separately afterwards. But no, I like it.
Well, it's because if there was an audio, like I know when I was learning music, you learnt to play by ear. So I would have done Irish traditional music, and so you were playing off other people by what you could hear. Yeah. So if it was out of sync, that has a knock-on impact.
Because then you'd start playing, and then while the other person's trying to continue, they'd hear you're playing just a smidgen, just half a beat off or whatever, and it would throw you off. But it's good. It's good to see loads of people come up with different ways to use Zoom, which is, I read it's increased in usage 535% over the last few weeks. I mean, I certainly had never heard of it before this all happened, and now I've become an absolute regular user of it. I'm always using it for everything now, like for group coursework and everything. It's because you can do. It's scary how much you can do, because you can even you can control someone else's desktop. You can do remote control through Zoom.
Wow.
It's madness how much you can do. It is scary, which is why people are scared in terms of privacy and that kind of stuff. But because it assumes a lot of trust between the participants. Yeah. How are you coping with these? Because you don't have that many lectures, do you?
Yeah, no. So because I'm a PhD student, I kind of have always kept my own hours. This hasn't really changed. The only difference is that all of my plans for the year, which involved traveling to archives and doing presentations at conferences, have completely sort of disappeared. Obviously, I can't travel at the minute, and obviously all the conferences have been postponed. So I'm in a bit of limbo because I was paid to go to the conferences and to pay for the conference attendance, but the university has a travel ban on for staff and students. So I don't know if I was to pay during this period, whether or not I could claim the money back. But also it means that all the planned research I was going to do has stopped. So second year, like people do research during first year, but for me, first year was more finding my feet in the subject area because I haven't done history since I did GCSE. I did anthropology. And so anthropology and history, there can be a bit of overlap, and sometimes we use the same themes and terminology. The terminology is a bit different in that occasionally my supervisor will say something and I know what he's on about, but I have a different term for it from an anthropological perspective. So I spent the first year kind of getting my feet learning how to be a PhD student because nobody teaches you that. And second year was mostly going to be research for starting to write up things. And unfortunately, all that research is now probably going to have to be online. And a lot of archives don't have their full collection online. You know, most of what doing a PhD is kind of trial and error and hoping something sticks if you throw enough muck at the wall. And I know I have run out of muck. So I'm trying to find new ways of accessing it. It's interesting. I mean, I'm used to doing a lot of my research online anyway. I just was really depending on going into the archives. And of course, the archives can't then digitize stuff to send to you because the people there can't actually get to the archives because it's not essential work. So yeah, it's a concern, but the university seems to be very understanding, and arts and humanities have been doing their own sort of coffee mornings via Zoom. So we've been checking in with each other and getting advice on where to source things. But also I think the crisis has meant that a lot of places that were planning to digitize their archive and which hadn't digitized it yet or had it up there, but they hadn't made it go live and accessible, are now making it accessible. So there are a few more resources than there were previously. Archive.org is very good for it. Some people have some mixed feelings on it, but an awful lot of real world archives do put digitized content up there. And I made the mistake of getting very excited when I heard that there had been a show that involved a mermaid in the 19th century. The mermaid is nothing like what you would think a mermaid would be. It's basically like a monkey attached to a fish, and it's terrifying. They've stitched this monstrosity together. That's what it looks. It looks awful. And I was all excited. I was like, a mermaid? And then I opened it and they have this drawing of what the mermaid looks like. And it is something you would see in a horror movie. Like, if something was to fly down from the ceiling to attack you, this would be it.
So it's interesting to hear how they've evolved, though. They've had a similar process to humans.
Yeah. But no, like my research area, I think, is really, really interesting. It just is a bit more difficult to find stuff sometimes because it does involve going through the archives, because disability as a topic, it doesn't necessarily get categorized. So different archives will specialize in different things, but there isn't necessarily, for the time period that I'm looking at, stuff that is specifically labeled as disability. So if you go into the archive and you search for the term disabled, you're not going to find it because you have to use language from the time. And even then, sometimes if you're using the online catalogue, you have to then hope that the person who has put this catalogue together has used certain tags or keywords for you to find the information in the first place. So like sometimes I'll find that somebody has written a letter and it's about them having an illness, and I think, great, I'm going to find something. And it turns out they had a cold, which isn't quite the same. Although I did find a letter which was really interesting. It was about this woman who had had a tracheostomy. So she had basically had a hole cut in her throat. And she had to do it a couple of times to go down to have the operation repeatedly, but she was having no anesthetic and it involved a lot of alcohol to try and numb the pain. And this letter looked like it was a letter that you just flipped over, so it was two-sided. However, the paper was very thin, so it actually opened up so that there was 4 pages to it. I did not notice this, nor did the archivist for ages. And the problem was she was talking about her tracheostomy getting clogged. And when you flipped over the next page, she talked about her long-haired cat. And I genuinely thought the worst because I couldn't figure out, like, there was no context for this cat. The cat came after something getting clogged. And I know cat hair gets everywhere. But once you opened it up, you realised it had nothing to do with the cat. But it's that kind of a thing. Sometimes if stuff is out of sequence or you can't find it or there's missing pieces. So I was in an archive recently and I was going through each year's documents for a particular source. And in one year, there was this letter that it was missing the second half of the letter. Couldn't find it. I found it in the next year. And they literally slotted together like a jigsaw. But it really helped with the context. But unless you were looking, in that particular area, you would have just had something without context. And so archive hunting can be really interesting. What I had planned before all of this happened was I wanted to get recipes out of archives and do sort of ye old recipes and actually make them myself and review whether or not it worked. Because there's a lot of recipes in there, some of which sound absolutely horrific. So there's like beef jelly, which there's certain recipes that they would have used for people who were unwell at the time, all of which sound disgusting. And which I don't think
if you think
be
about
consuming.
beef jelly, it doesn't sound too odd because to make jelly you need gelatin, and you can get that from beef or pork. Yeah. Although I've never thought of a savoury jelly. I'm not sure. Oh, well, actually, if I think of a savoury jelly, I'd probably think of like the chicken fat that gets left over when you cook something or whatever. That's what I think about, which is not too pleasant, but it's
So there's lots of different things. So it was basically bland and basic foods and broths and stuff. But it's a really interesting time period because there was a lot of change in the 19th century, specifically with certain illnesses. So tuberculosis kind of went from being this, and I mean, I'm being very simplistic, but a romanticized illness because, you were pale, so basically think Snow White, pale skin, blood red lips because you're coughing up blood. And it was sort of the idea of only the good die young, and that if you were really creative and in tune, that you would be more prone to catching this illness. And towards the end of the century, they tended to realize it was a more medicalized thing. And not to say that it was glamorous, because it isn't, but it became less idealistic or less, there were less metaphors or romanticism around the illness. So different illnesses changed across the century as to how they were understood, and medicine became closer, I think, to what we know it today. It changed and got a bit more regulated, and doctors started being proper doctors, because there was kind of a point where anybody could say they were, medically trained and not necessarily be fully medically trained. They could just be a quack. But it's really interesting when you look in some of the newspapers for even just medical devices. So they have electropathic belts. So an electropathic belt is basically a belt that you put on that does electrical currents around your tummy area. And you could get male and female ones. But there was a company and they did electropathic corsets and socks. You name it, you could electrocute any part of your body. And these things cured everything. So gout, insomnia, rheumatism, you have it, they can fix it, apparently. And they had one advert, which they put into a church magazine. And it's basically this angel coming down from heaven, carrying an electropathic belt towards these people who are looking up in awe with their hands outstretched to take this apparently miraculous device. Some of the images are really, really interesting when you find them. I found one which was Dawn Rheumatism against Dawn Painkiller, and it was this leaflet that was advertising painkillers, but it presented rheumatism and the painkiller as two knights who were facing off against each other, and obviously Dawn Painkiller won. has these images of actual people on horses fighting,
All right.
but it's this massive metaphor, and it's just really interesting and very creative. It's like finding stuff like that is great.
I mean, well, it just highlights how when you're restricted, you can become a bit more creative, and that's how people are coping now in these restricted conditions. People are coming up with exciting, exciting to them at least, like this project, ways to pass the time. But it's so just for clarification for the listener. How would you sum up your research in a few lines?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I've done 3-minute thesis, but that's a 3-minute explanation. So basically, I'm looking at 19th century Britain and Ireland, and I'm exploring topics of disability. But my focus is on issues of visibility. So how visible a person is. So what I mean by this is if someone has been relatively well, but they become unwell, chronically ill to the extent that they're disabled. Back then, you may have gone into, say, a sick room. So you would have gone from being very, very, visible in your community to this basically being behind 4 walls. But because you are now unwell and classed then using terms of the time as an invalid, your situation would become hyper visible to people around you. So you're physically invisible, but you then become hyper visible. So it's dealing with these issues of visibility as to who is talking. Is it the disabled person talking? Is it someone talking for them? And just, I go back and I explore disability as a very wide topic, but specifically how people are viewed and who is doing the viewing. And so just the overlap of where things are seen or unseen, which can be really interesting when you dive into it. But put simply, I'm looking at issues of visibility around disability at that time period. I could probably go on for ages and ages and ages about it. I'll try not to. But it's really interesting, especially when you're looking at different cases and, whose stories are being told. Because when if you think of, say, and again, it's a term of the time, but if you think of a Victorian invalid, you generally get this image of a woman in bed, and yet anybody can be disabled. But what you're getting is an image of a white woman who's usually upper class, who's in bed. You're not seeing the wide spectrum of disability that there is there. And so that's, again, an issue of visibility and representation. And so at the core of my work, that's what I'm exploring. And hopefully that kind of explains it suitably.
No, it does. I like how you've managed to find a title that rhymes, which is very, very pleasing. And certainly, if anything else, if the rest hasn't, the title has certainly got me interested. Right, I'm going to make an excellent segue here. Let me just blow my nose. That isn't the segue, although technically you might count it as one. I feel like a new man now. Right. So this game is called Best Before What?
I have a
very interesting relationship with Best Before dates in that I have a lot of fun with them. I play a sort of game of Russian roulette. So we're going to go through some things that I found in my drawer, and you've got to try and order them.
Lord.
In terms of increasing Best Before date. Okay, we've just got 2 rounds of this because I did do a clear out recently, so some of my major old ones have not made the cut, but anyway, we'll make do with what we've got. Right, so your first group of 3, we've got some Highland shortbread all Butterfingers by Sainsbury's. Mm-hmm. Next one is some Hotel Chocolat coffee and walnut cake chocolates.
Okay.
And your third is some milk chocolate Mikado. So if we have a look at these side by side, how would you order these in terms of Best Before date?
Those are really difficult choices. There's, I don't know, there's dairy in all of them. I think biscuits, once opened, will go out of date quicker than, say, chocolates. Yeah. So It could be biscuits, Mikado, and then the coffee and walnut cake.
Is that what you think?
I have no idea. It's probably wrong. I mean, the biscuits are open, so they're likely to go off quicker, technically.
Maybe it's a curveball.
I don't know. Because, the thing is, you can get shortbread biscuits at Christmas and you can eat them the following Christmas. Yeah. They're all of these, I imagine, would have relatively long best before dates.
The question is, when do you think I bought them? And how long do you think I've kept them for?
Well, chocolate doesn't last very long in my house, so I would imagine the chocolate is more recent.
Okay. So you think that's So you think that's the last one, yeah?
Shortbread, Mikado, coffee and walnut cake, maybe. I mean, it says it's a cake, though.
Yeah, I don't know why it says it's a cake.
It's probably, you know what? It's probably wrong. It's probably the coffee and walnut cake first.
What do you think?
I'll just say shortbread.
First or third?
No, I'll say shortbread, Mikado, then coffee and walnut cake, and I'll be happy with being wrong. It's fine.
Okay. So shortbread, Mikado, and then the coffee and walnut. Okay. Right, are you ready to see the answers?
How wrong I am? Very wrong. I already know this.
Right, here we go. So let's have a look at what's first. It's the shortbread, 12th of October 2019. There we go. So you got that right.
That's one.
It's looking good. Right. Do we think you've got the next one right? I can't remember what it is, so this will be a surprise as much to you as it is to me. Let's have a look.
Probably cake, won't it?
It's the coffee and walnut chocolate.
Yeah, it's a cake.
And then we've got the Mikado there last. So
there's not a huge in it.
There isn't. It's a month apart. So for the listener there, we had the shortbread, which had a best before date of 12th of October 2019. Then the coffee and walnut cake chocolate thing, whatever it is, I still haven't opened it yet, is the November 2019. And then we got the Mikado, which is the 31st of December 2019. Right, are you ready for your second batch?
Yeah.
Okay. This just shows I can squeeze a game out of anything. But here we go. This is Scottish all butter toffee and pecan shortbread rounds from M&S. That's your first one.
Okay.
Your second is some Lindor, I think, assorted chocolate eggs, I believe. It doesn't say eggs on the packet, but... Oh, no, it does say eggs. Yeah, they're eggs. And your third is Nature Valley Nut Butter Cups, peanut chocolate flavour, made with real peanut butter. So if you have a look at those three there, we got some M&S Scottish all butter toffee and pecan shortbread rounds. We got some Lindor assorted chocolate eggs, and we got a Nature Valley nut butter cup with peanut chocolate. What are your thoughts? Tell us your thoughts at the moment.
I think the nut butter cup. I know it was on offer recently in Tesco.
Oh, interesting.
So that's probably a more recent buy.
Yeah, okay.
The Lindor look like they've seen better days.
Yep, okay.
So they could be a bit older.
It's been through the wars, that one. It certainly looks like.
Yeah, but just because it's been a bit crumpled doesn't mean that it's older. It could just have been pulled into something. I think probably because it's all butter and it has pecans, I think M&S is probably the first one. Then it's probably M&S, the nut butter, and then the Lindt.
Okay, M&S, nut butter, Lindt.
Let me guess, there'll only be a couple of months in between these ones as well.
I don't know, I can't remember. We'll see though. Right, here we go. So you said the shortbread rounds, then the nut butter cups, and then finally the Lindt chocolate eggs. Right, are you ready to face your fate? Here we go. We've got the eggs first, which is the...
They did look older, but then I wasn't sure.
Was that July 2019? And then we got quite an old one. Right, so no points so far. I don't know how we score this, but anyway, here is the next one. It's the nut butter cups. The 15th of August, 2019. There we go. And finally, that means we've got the shortbread rounds, which are the 11th of March. So you got it in the reverse order.
Yeah.
Oh, so you got some order.
Yeah, I got a order, just the wrong direction.
Your final three are some sweet chili rice crackers.
Ooh. But they're reduced, so they've got...
But when did I buy it? We've got that. What have we got? We've got some peach and passion fruit Jaffa cakes from M&S. Limited edition. Is that a clue? I don't know. And then we've got... does this have a best before date? It does. Kit Kat Dark.
Ooh.
Only 105 calories.
I think a Kit Kat Dark would last quite a while, you would think. I'm assuming because they're reduced, they have less of they're short. Their best before would be shorter. And then it would probably be the passion fruit Jaffa cakes, then the Kit Kat.
So you think... That was the order I showed you, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the order you showed me. But I'm thinking, because it's got a reduced sticker, and the other one then is like a baked good, whereas chocolate, Kit Kats, you can eat them well after best before date. They last forever, I would hope.
Well, I'm hoping to increase awareness of best before dates through this. So this is certainly a talking point now, if it wasn't before. So what do you think?
I think the order I was shown it, maybe?
Yeah. Okay, so you think the rice crackers, then the Jaffa cakes, and then the Kit Kat. Now, I haven't worked out the order yet, so let's hope my maths is good. Okay, now that is... Oh! Okay. Oh, that is interesting. Oh, okay. Right. So the first one is February 2020. And that is... No, sorry, no, it's not. No, that's wrong. I completely messed this up. The first one is the 25th of December.
Okay.
2019. So that's the Christmas that's just passed, and it's the Jaffa cakes.
Wow, okay.
I know, that has surprised both of us. The next one is February 2020, and it is... What do you think it is? Now that you've seen the Jaffa cakes off first.
I don't know. Could be the Kit Kat now.
You think?
I have no idea now. That's completely thrown me.
Well, I can tell you, it's the Kit Kat.
Yay!
February 2020. Right, now, I'm going to try and let you guess. Have a guess what you think the best before date is on these rice crackers.
2021, maybe?
I think towards the start of the year, middle, end.
Considering the fact that they seem to be doing everything else, it could be like middle 2021.
Okay, well, I can tell you, it's the 28th of January 2021.
Ah.
And I'm
Why
trying
were
to
they
think,
reduced then?
that's what I'm wondering. I can't even remember why. Where did I get them? I got them in London. When did I go to London? November, I think. Was it November? Yeah, and there were lots of these.
Huh.
I have no idea. I didn't like them as well, so that's not good. Maybe that's why they were reduced, because no one liked them. Who knows? I think that went pretty well, actually.
Yeah.
I'm going to have another sip of this. That has improved with temperature, with a decrease in temperature. And how is your beverage?
It's still black, like my soul.
What type of coffee is it? So, can you tell us more about it? We're not being sponsored by anyone, so don't worry.
It's because I'm a student. It's the cheap Tesco version, so it's not branded. It's just Tesco Decaf Gold.
Oh, okay.
It's nice. I mean, I do have some fancier coffees. Is it Whittards or is it Whittards? I have no idea how, but it's that company that do like hot chocolate and coffee and stuff. So I have a couple of their coffees, and I now have a coffee machine for filter coffee. But I would love a proper coffee making machine. I just can't bring myself to fork out for one.
Well, I saved up for mine, I got one of the cheapest ones originally. Those how much was it like? I think I got it for, it's usually 99 or something. I got it through a combination of many discounts, for just under 70, I think. So that was all right. But then my sister took it with her to university. So, and then for 6 months or so, I had no coffee machine, even though I brought all my pods from home.
Yeah.
So those were dark. That was a dark 6 months. But I did get one of those mocha stove pots.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with all of that is it's a lot of washing up. So it's another thing to worry about. Then I found one which accepted both Nespresso and Dolce Gusto capsules. So I branched into two different territories there, and it served me well. It served me well. It's I keep it in my hidden on my bookcase, like blending into everything, and my room has become a sort of coffee shop now that we're not allowed to go out. But it's nice to have company. I should get a price menu. Actually, I should mock one of those up. But and I should have for the listener. I didn't mention the brand. These are L'Or Espresso Supremo aluminium capsules. Do you want to have a guess at what the best before date is? This is just a bonus for you.
I don't know. I imagine they'd be quite long life because they're sealed.
Yeah. But how long have I had them?
I reckon you could probably get another year out of them, 2021.
Okay, I'm going to have a look, because I bought these in bulk off Amazon, I think. I can't remember how many years ago.
And it also depends on how long they've been sitting at Amazon.
Yeah, let's have a look. I'm just searching through my orders now. Okay, I ordered this on the 19th of November 2018.
Okay.
Right, so does that change? Does that change your thought? No,
I'm gonna. I've said 2021. I'm gonna stick by my guns, even if they're wrong.
Okay, right, 2021. It's interesting, actually. I got it for, how many did I get? I got 10 packs for $17.99, which is quite a deal, actually, because at the moment it's $26.60. So I've got a good. I don't know how much is that per capsule. It's 18p a capsule. Right, so you say 2021. I can tell you that the best before date is the 22nd of September 2019. So it's just a year.
Oh, wow.
Just
that doesn't last long at all.
No. But then again, coffee's quite a non-perishable, really. It lasts.
Well, I mean,
these are aluminium sealed. These are foil sealed in aluminium. So maybe I had one of the Duff capsules, actually. Because this one didn't taste the best. But it usually does. If you're listening, anyone from L'Or, it normally tastes good. So there we go. Maybe it's an off day.
Well, it's best before a date. That doesn't mean it's bad after that date.
Exactly. It's a shame I'd finished my really bad out-of-date items, because that would have been enlightening stuff. But I play a dangerous game, but I'm still alive. So, I've it's gone well so far. I'm just waiting for that fatal fatal item to just be the end of me. But anyway, on that note, I'd like to thank you for joining me for today's cup, which was a L'Or Espresso Supremo capsule cup thing, which was vigorous and spicy. I don't really know how you measure that kind of thing. It's made in France with coffee from multiple origins. Anyway, thank you for joining me, Felicity. I hope you've had fun. Yeah, no, it's been great. We've managed to squeeze out a podcast out of the most unlikely of topics, but this is why we do this. Yeah. For stuff like this. But yes, so please join me again next time for another cup. I shall see you soon. Goodbye.
That was another episode of Sip by Sip. It was presented and produced by me. I also did the title music. If you'd like to find out more about the programme or view other content, please visit our website at expluceplayer.co.uk. Thank you for listening, and please join us for another cup. This was an Expluce production.